Hey there, gang. Patrick King here, coming to you live from Clearfield, Pennsylvania, teaching this week at Let's Dance Dressage. Today is going to be a little bit less of a question and admittedly a little bit more of a rant. Working with a horse this week who came out for our foundation camp, and she's dealing with some physical as well as emotional issues that are rooting back to starting in the halter breaking. This is a horse that when she was a foal was flipped over numerous times during the halter breaking process, and honestly it's kind of become a go-to for this horse throughout her life. She's, I believe, 9 years old now at this point. Now keep in mind, this came from a well-meaning, well-intentioned owner who was trying to do the best by her horse, but was unfortunately given some pretty crappy advice from maybe you might call them old school trainers or horse friends. You can call them old school, you can call them uninformed, archaic, I don't know, call it whatever you want to call it, but it's advice that is still passed around quite a bit, and I hear it honestly almost everywhere I go when people talk about halter breaking horses, starting horses in the halter, particularly with young foals. We want to take a look and think about what actually is taking place with these young horses. Do foals, do babies, any horses have a tendency sometimes to get locked up, rear up, and potentially flip when we're first starting them in the halter? Yes, that's something that we see happen quite a bit. There's a reason behind that, though, and that's what we need to really think about when we're working these horses in the halters for the first time and even throughout the rest of their life. In the horse's brain, basically, the face and the hindquarters are directly linked. Okay, this is a survival mechanism basically in the horse. So when they feel, especially the first time or the first few times, when they feel the halter constricting or applying pressure to their face, their hindquarters lock up. This is why when you try to pull one straight on or lead one straight on very early, they will resist, they will hesitate, they will rear, things like that. If we can sort of offset the horses, instead of pulling from straight on, if we can apply a little bit of a pressure to the side with our halter or our lead rope, that can, and wait, right? Wait for the horse. We can then offset or engage their hindquarters rather than causing a locking up, causing a resistance, just pulling forward on them like this. This is something that's absolutely essential. We need to engage the hindquarters when we're trying to lead our horses rather than just pulling kind of from the front on. Think about it when you're leading. Oftentimes when we're leading a horse or we have a stuck horse, we hold a pressure on our lead rope until a front foot takes a step. Well, think about the motor of the horse. The front feet are not the driver. They've never been the driver. So when we apply a little pressure on our lead rope, teaching our horses to follow the feel off of that rope, it's important that we wait for the hindquarters to take that first step. So if we start out at a bit of an angle, the hindquarters is more likely to be the first piece of that horse to take the step, or the first end of that horse to take that step. When we kind of subscribe to this old school, archaic way of just pulling on a horse, again, young or old, it doesn't matter, pulling on a horse to teach them to lead with the halter and allowing them to flip, or even worse, causing it to happen, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing this. This gal was given that advice, and she did follow through with that a couple times, and then found out that the horse just kind of learned that. When we do that, or when we set our horse up in a situation for that to happen, we run the risk of very severe damage long term to our horses as a result of this. Okay, think about the force and the pressure that most of those horses will land either on their side or on their back. We're talking about things like damage to the entire top line system. We're talking about potential vertebral fractures that we'll never even know about if we don't see some reason or cause to do, say, a body scan or you know, x-rays, things like that. There's a lot that we can damage there. We can also potentially damage you know, the pole, the center there, the key to the horse's nervous system, right? The pole, the connection of the top line to the nuchal ligament to the top, to the base of the horse's skull. Okay, there's so much in there that is so sacred, so sensitive, that we really have to be careful with that. This is why horses that pull back can have, pull back when tied, can have permanent damage, all right, because of the sensitivity up there in that area. So it's something to think about when you're working a horse, when you're halter breaking a horse for the first time, or when you're working a horse the entire time through the rest of his life. If he gets stuck, if he gets unsure about leading forward, you've got to work to engage the hindquarters. Don't just pull on him. That's never going to result in the answer long term that we're looking for. Okay, so again, more of a rant than a question today, but something that we really need to keep in mind. Hopefully that's been something that's been a little bit insightful for you. If you have any friends maybe that are working on halter breaking, it's springtime, you know, babies are being born. If you have any friends that are working on halter breaking or starting their foals in a halter, please be sure, tag them in the comments section below on this video. Hopefully that can you know, help them to understand a little better how they might need to go about starting those horses in the halter. So let's see, question of the day for today. You know, working hard to bring you these videos each day, almost every day. What are some other ways that you think maybe I can help you as kind of this, you know, little coaching system through our virtual idea here of our videos, or any other way? How can I help you to improve your horsemanship? I'm really curious about this, really interested in your answers. Please give us your answers in the comment section below this video, and don't forget, you keep submitting your questions and I'll keep giving answers. Thanks so much, gang.